Hi everyone, how's it going? Is everyone doing good? Is everyone keeping busy? Is anyone else having construction going on next door? No? I thought so. Anyways, it's good to see all of you. We're slowly getting our way into January and slowly getting into this year. I know this week is a little bit crazy with everything going on. I'm not sure how many of you are online learning or what's going on, but I promise we will get through this together. And whether we teach online or we go back to or we prefer in school, which I'm sure many of you miss your friends, just remember that there is hope and we can get this if we all work together. We will get through this, I promise. Anyways, Makes the Bookworm here has a special video for you. Yes, I'm reading a story, but I also have a special surprise, so I really hope you stay tuned and see what it is. In fact, you know how I said I might read a fairy tale or I might read something else? Well, I'm going to show you a preview because I just found a whole bunch of books for all of you, and I'm going to show you as a little preview so you can see what's to come. And if you see a book that's your absolute favorite and you must have it and you must read it, well, I hope you can stay tuned. If you subscribe and like my channel, that'll encourage me to get more videos out. And who knows, maybe I'll read your favorite story. If there's one you really, really love, I'm sure you can find a way to express how much you really want that story. Now, I'm going to see how many of you like it. So, also be sure to like this video if you see any stories here that are your absolute favorite, and then I'll know which ones that I can read. Anyways, do we want to see what we have? Well, first of all, we have the classic fairy tales. Fairy tales are story like Little Red Riding Hood, Sleeping Beauty, stories like that. Now, we also have these other fairy tales like Cinderella and Pinocchio, which are two of my favorites. What about a story about dogs? We got Harry the Dirty Dog, a story about a dog who likes to get into trouble, a childhood favorite of mine. We also have good old Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss was one of my favorite authors growing up, and I'm sure you guys will love him too. And he's got a bunch of books in here. Some include Green Eggs and Ham, Box and Socks, Hop on Pop, The Cat in the Hat, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. I really hope you stay tuned because Green Eggs and Ham and The Cat in the Hat are my two favorites. In fact, I might have special puppet friends who might be joining me for one of them. So if you want to see that, make sure you stay tuned. I also have the Bag of Surprises, a bag that has all kinds of books in it. What kind of books are in there? Well, let's see. Maybe we want to give a cat a cupcake. Learn about the environment with the Lorax. All about how we can keep our environment clean. With lots of beautiful pictures. Or we can go on a detective hunt with Pete the Cat and find some missing cupcakes. Wow. That was a lot of stories. Anyway, as we can see, we got a whole bunch of stories here that we can choose from. So, I really hope that if you see a favorite, you will stay tuned and see, as I love to read with you guys. And you can see here, we got a whole bunch of selection. Now, as for what we're going to read today, I am sure a lot of you are curious. Well, we will read these books eventually, but for today, we're going to read a favorite fairy tale classic of mine, Pinocchio. After all, remember, let your conscience be your guide. We'll find out more of that in this story. But we'll get to discover the fairy tale. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have heard of the Disney movie Pinocchio. It was one of my favorites, and how he becomes a real boy, but he has to learn some hard lessons along the way. Now, Pinocchio is a puppet, so I'm going to bring out my puppet friend, the kitty cat. Meow. And I really hope you'll stay tuned and say hi to the kitty, because she loves us. I want to be in the story too. I'm sorry, Olaf, but you're not a puppet. Maybe you can be in our next story. Okay, I'm going to go sit and watch. Good idea, Olaf. Olaf is going to be sitting with us. Anyways, our kitty here, Mr. Cat, whatever we want to call him, is ready to read our story. Should we read our story to our friends? Okay, our puppet friend is going to help us with our story of Pinocchio. Now, illustrations by Ronnie Gasola. Are we ready? Okay. And this is not the original story of Pinocchio, but this is a story that I'm sure you will all love and is easy to understand. Anyways, hope you enjoy. Once upon a time, there was a carpenter called Geppetto who felt very lonely. He decided to make himself a wooden puppet, which he would call Pinocchio. Geppetto carved the wood lovingly, but got a surprise when he finished. The puppet winked at him. The old carpenter realized very quickly that Pinocchio was a terrible rascal, and the talking cricket warned him too. This puppet is going to cause a lot of trouble. You'll see. When Pinocchio was born, he was born with a mischievous side. The wise little insect was right. As soon as Geppetto finished carving Pinocchio, the puppet got to his feet, laughed, then ran away. Geppetto chased him through the streets of the town and only caught up with the puppet when he'd been stopped by 2 policemen who were very angry about all the trouble he caused. This puppet is a brat. You must do something about him, the policeman said to poor Geppetto, who promised to send Pinocchio to school like the other children. But Pinocchio didn't go to school the next day. He went to the Marionette Theater instead. There, he met Fire Eater, the puppet master who looked ferocious but had a heart of gold. Indeed, he gave Pinocchio 5 gold pieces, which is basically like money. Very soon after, Pinocchio met 2 crafty characters, the cat and the fox, who were not quite so kind. They pretended to be his friends, then stole all his money. When Pinocchio told people what had happened, no one believed him because he often told terrible lies, and each time his nose would grow. The fairy with turquoise hair was the only one to help him. She freed him and promised to turn him into a real boy if he learned to behave himself. Pinocchio returned home and promised to always do as he was told, but his nose began to grow again. He had told another lie. A few days later, the puppet met his friend Candlewick, an unruly boy who invited Pinocchio to climb aboard a carriage drawn by donkeys and full of children and festive spirits. "It will take us to the land of toys," Candlewick explained. "An amazing place where we can play all day." Pinocchio didn't need to be asked twice. He leapt onto the carriage with Candlewick, and off they went. The land of toys was a veritable haven of fun. Children could eat sweets all day, there was no school, and they never had to study. But a few days into their time there, Pinocchio, Canoa, and all the others began to turn into donkeys. Hee-haw. What would become of them now? Uh-oh. I guess that's what happens when you don't listen. Poor Pinocchio, he was sent to work in a circus and he had to run, dance, and leap around. It was dangerous work and he hurt his leg. The circus director flew into a terrible rage and hurled the injured donkey into the sea since he can no longer perform in the show. Poor Pinocchio. Meanwhile, what had become of Geppetto? He was also at sea. After setting out to look for Pinocchio, he had a terrible adventure. A whale had swallowed both him and his boat up. Oh no. As for Pinocchio, as soon as he hit the water, he had turned back into a puppet. He was swimming happily towards the shore when a giant creature appeared behind him. In a twinkling, Pinocchio too ended up in the whale's stomach alongside Geppetto. The puppet ran to embrace the old man who could hardly believe his eyes. They had finally found each other again. What a reunion. Reunited in a whale's stomach. Pinocchio and Geppetto made their way hand in hand to the whale's mouth and leaped out into the sea. They swam for a long time and were almost out of breath when a tuna fish found them. It let them climb onto its back and carried them ashore so they could finally go home. From that day on, Pinocchio stopped telling lies. Maybe he had one adventure too many, or perhaps he didn't want to worry his father anymore. He loved him so much. One thing is certain, the fairy with the turquoise hair noticed that Pinocchio had changed his ways, and with a flick of her magic wand, finally turned him into a real boy. And he's a real boy. The end. What a story. Pinocchio had quite the journey, but he got rewarded in the end because he changed his ways. As it's said in the Disney movie, Jiminy Cricket, who is the talking cricket, says, "Let your conscience be your guide." Conscience means is to think for yourself on what is good and what is bad. Like Pinocchio had to think, what was the right thing to do? Going to school or running off to go do something? He made a lot of bad decisions, and those bad decisions are what led to his adventure. Now, I'm not saying we should make any bad decisions, and I am definitely not saying that we will turn into a donkey. No. That's just in the story. I am saying that when we make a decision, think to ourselves, is it the right thing to do? Is this really what we should do? Should we really leave a mess on the floor or not? If we want to get ice cream, do you think Mommy and Daddy would let us if we cleaned up the mess on the floor? Or should we just leave it and run straight to the ice cream shop? Just think about it next time. You won't turn into a donkey, a horse, a dog, a cat, or whatever other animal you can think of. All you need to know is that as long as you use your conscience and think about the right decision, then all is right in the end. But everyone makes mistakes, so that's okay too. Well, I really hope you enjoy Pinocchio. I also have Cinderella, but I have a bunch of other stories too. As for what to read, well, don't forget to like this video if you saw anything you liked. And these will be our options for next time. So I really hope you stay tuned and watch me pick out our favorite story next time. So I really hope you stay tuned. Until then, everyone, this is Makes the Bookworm saying, stay safe, have fun, and see you next time. See ya!